Okay, so this is the B-side of my sketchbook, my recent sketchbook post, and this is all the digital works that I've been up to in the last 2 months. A couple at the end in this folder are from my time in Florence, where I'm recording this. So I'm going to share those too. So let's get right into it. The first one here is just the thumbnail. It's photo reference for two paintings that went one each in each sketchbook. And the thing is, so this is something that I like to do. Like, you see, there's the original. Now, I didn't want to paint it in the colors of this photograph that I found online. So to kind of make it more original, I changed the colors to blue. And, kind of through Photoshop. And then I did the same for this one. So these were photo reference, but all the other pictures here were done from life. January 1st, so I started off the new year in London, and it was amazing. I woke up right downtown. I rented a hotel the night before, and woke up right downtown, so I just went to like the Tate Modern, which didn't give me a lot of inspiration because I kind of gravitate to the classics. I feel like currently in this time in my life, this is what kind of what I'm curious about. So I found this great sculpture right before I got on the train, and decided to copy it. I thought, you know, it was interesting to find all these Roman themes in London. On another day, I went to the Victoria and Albert Museum, and then across the way, like a few feet, is the Natural History Museum. Both free, by the way. Quite amazing. So I found this ostrich, and the museum was closing. It was like, actually, I got rushed out. I was like the last to leave. And so I only had a few minutes, and I did this headshot, but I think it looks so great. The eyeball really looks so vibrant, and I try to capture like these really glossy, vibrant colors. Okay, this is a combination of two Caravaggio characters. They weren't interacting in the same way, but I made them interact this way. Just because I was just doing two separate studies, mostly like of the colors. I'm just trying to match colors, and I guess proportions. I'm always trying to match proportions, but he's a great color master. And I love drawing from sculptures, and I love Rodin. I think he's exciting because of the way he plays with the figure. And this one was very interesting because it's all chopped up. And from this angle, she looks natural, but from some angles, her head looks like it's rolling right off. It's like a naturally. He does that a lot with other figures. That in certain angles, that's the way they're meant to be seen. And it's interesting. Like, I think because he molds them, they start as maquettes, and he tries to reproduce that roughness that's in the maquette. And I think like you can just feel like how he just pulls the head to stretch it to make it more animated. So here you can see the process real quick. This turned out good, and I also added like the paper texture that you'll notice in the background. That's something I began to do to just kind of like make my drawings look like they were done on paper, and I actually created my own charcoal pencil. So let's see, if I select here under pencils, under charcoals, this is Procreate, by the way, this is the program. So I tweaked my own charcoal pencil, then I called it Conte. because I was trying to reproduce what I like to create with Conte. And here's another one. This is a complex sculpture, so I didn't have the patience to do it all. So I just decided to do this one corner and then like move on. Okay, they have a life-size cast of David, and this was a great experience. I drew it in a small sketchbook. Actually, no, the big sketchbook first, and then I did a couple of more versions of this. It was very, very exciting. I also try to capture angles that are uncommon, and I think this was kind of uncommon. It was amazing that almost every angle, there's like not a flaw in this. And later on, from the original in Florence, you'll see in the digital, there's it's incredible how amazing this sculpture is. How he got into the grooves of everything. So yeah, this was a nice one. Yeah, and this was another angle. I feel like this is a less attractive angle. I mean, the bottom is good. I'm happy with that. But I think there's maybe a flaw in my approach here. I've been struggling recently. I'm very conscious of like the curves of the back. I want to make them natural. So it's like sometimes I get caught up in just the shapes, like little nuances and shapes, and I miss the flow of it. So I'm trying to make my poses a little less stiff, and I'm not quite sure if I achieved that there, but I mean, it's proportionate. It's pretty good, I think. Yeah. So this is like the Conte. This is what I'm talking about, like the curve. I noticed this in the spine of this character from Life Drawing. So I just made the Conte pencil, so I was testing it out there. So yeah, I was trying to get the right angle, and I think later on I moved the head in more. So I was redrawing it from my sketch in my sketchbook. But I don't know, neither are to my satisfaction. So this was like from a longer pose. After the break, there was like 20 minutes left, and I decided to switch to the iPad, and this is all I managed to capture. I think like it looks good small, because I'm getting like the tones, and in one way it looks kind of real, but some of the flatness of the colors make it look digital and kind of computerized. So, but generally that was a color study. This is an Ingres painting in Paris at the Louvre. It was one of my favorite paintings, and just a quick kind of study. And again, I think I was at the end of the day and they were closing. So the previous are all from London, and now we're in Paris. And after that, because when I was doing all these black and white ones with the highlights, I just got like inspired to try to do kind of some fun things, like just play around with shapes. This is kind of a mix of what I'm studying in life and my animation background, where I'm just playing with shapes. And this like is one example where I'm just kind of I'm just having fun with my memory of anatomy, of what I know. So I'm just making it up, basically. This is the anatomy this is the inventory that I have in my mind of muscles, with some exaggeration, obviously. This was a pose I just kind of made up, and the highlights. I kind of like this. I feel like this is something, could be made into a poster or something. And this is another one too. It's kind of I think a neat one, very expressive. I like hands, I like feet. I feel like feet are less expressive, but hands are very expressive. All right, so this is a long section from life drawing Montmartre. So Montmartre is a very famous area of Paris where Picasso and I don't know, maybe Cezanne, and like a bunch of, I think Van Gogh lived there, a bunch of famous artists passed through there and had like little cafe shows and hung out there. So so it was like this little bar, and then afterward we had like drinks, and I took it kind of serious. I think like I tried to talk art and stuff, and it was fun. So the theme here was a boudoir. Great model. She was really nice. So these were like 2-minute poses. When I get warmed up, sometimes like I don't have time for much, so I just do whatever I can. So nothing. Great poses, and they lit the scene well. And oh yeah, this was all like downstairs in the basement of a bar. Like it wasn't just a bar; it was like they served food. So it was really nice. And then now I'm switching the color because I think it's like 5-minute poses. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have time for color. So the first one, I'm not sure which one. Oh yeah, I'm using the Conte pencil still. So it looks kind of like colored crayon. So I wasn't very happy with that. And then I switched brushes to paintbrush. I think I went with one of these, like the round brush, or I could have used the Spectra. Spectra is my go-to. So these I feel like are turning out well. This is again a 5-minute one. And great poses, and they lit her well. And now there's 2 10-minute ones. And this is good. I miss the color in the face a bit. I feel like there must have been more color than you see here. But that's all I had time for. I think the hand is really good. Like this hand holding the mirror is really good. Like the fingers, that turned out good. This is like as good as the others, I think, but the pose is less interesting, in my opinion. Oops. And now this is when they get real good. I think this was a long pose, and it was like 25 minutes, so that's long to me. And I'm kind of surprised myself how much detail I got in. So you can see the process here that I blocked it, and I worked as fast as I could because I realized there was a lot going on. And I think the composition worked out well. Everything worked out well, and I think the background must have been kind of bluish because that's why I must have went with it. But man, I am really pleased and surprised with how much detail I got into this in 25 minutes. And she was on like some greenish fur coat, and I try to represent that as much as I could. I'm very pleased with that one. And then the next two, I haven't shown them on social media yet, because they were just too much. I didn't want to overwhelm people, but I love this one. I left her hair out, so it's all like smoky kind of, and I think this is so nice. Let's see what the replay looks like. Yeah. She looks kind of like a geisha, just reading like a fan book. I thought this was so elegant and beautiful. And this one was a great pose too, and like reminded me of like a dramatic David painting, from the French Revolution. I'm thinking of Death of Marat, but in seeing the original Death of Marat, I feel like, yeah, it's kind of in the same. I like the light reflection on the fingers and a little bit on the nose there and the chest, and I like how I put her lower on the page, and that's on purpose. I feel like the compositions are right on point on all these, especially the last three color ones. So on a different day, I went to another place called the Académie de la Grande Chaumière, and this was highly recommended to me. I went twice. The first, I didn't do it digital. It was a male model. He was very good. And the second was this model, and she wasn't very good. And the reason she wasn't very good is because all her poses were like this. She was either standing, legs in the same position practically, arms in the same position. There was no crossing. You're supposed to twist and turn and do something dynamic. Maybe when she was younger, she did something more dynamic, but certainly she had no interest in doing that. And so in this one, it kind of looks good small, like the colors. I mean, I feel like I got the skin tone, but there's not much I could do. And I was like really, my French wasn't good enough to request or demand a different pose. So back at the Rodin Museum, I had gone before, and this is like a second tour of it. I did this quick sketch, and I didn't have time to finish the sculpture. Actually, this was done after this one. So this is like the yard with the thinker and the background stuff. I'm not too keen on this. I don't know. There's nothing. Everything looks rushed about that one. Anyway, so that was like London and Paris right there. Besides like the other two sketchbooks, and the last four here are in the last few days in Florence. And I'm super pleased with each one of them. I think they're like maybe better than everything you just saw. I used to think like actually this Rodin was my wallpaper on my phone for a while because I was very pleased with that one. But this Fiorentino is my new wallpaper. But let's start with this Michelangelo. This is a sculpture, and like if I shrink it like that, I feel like with this one I tried to capture the colors, like the natural colors I was seeing, and letting it be white, white marble. And typically I treat it like a drawing, like you saw the other ones. Like here I treat it like a drawing, like I treat it like it's life drawing. But here, even though I did use similar pencils, like the charcoal, I use them in a different way. And you'll see the process here, because I try to do the background. Let's skip that. And then so then I blocked it in. I blocked in the shape, and then I kind of sculpted the shape. Now I could add to that shape, and not like a real sculpture. Like sometimes, well, in the real sculpture, if you take too much, that's it, you know. So with this one, I could edit a little bit, but yeah. So I blocked it in, and then I worked within those parameters. And it really kind of, like, it still looks kind of like a drawing at this point, like past midway. And once the highlights go in, and I was noting the highlights, like I knew they were there, but I was like restraining myself to not add those highlights until the end. That's when the magic happens. So now when the white highlights show up, now everything, I think, pops. And then I adjusted the background and added that in. So I'm super pleased with this. I think it's one of my most realistic technical sketches. I still consider it kind of a sketch. They're all quick. I mean, maybe I might have spent an hour on that. Like I might have really got caught up in it, because that's a long time for me. So then I found a nice, well, they had seating. I wouldn't say a nice angle, because it's like looking straight up his butt. But they had seating right behind. So I was like, well, okay, this is not a typical angle that you see, and that's fine. But here's what I found out about this one. This is like, if you look at the sculpture, I mean, this is weird to mention, but when you look at the sculpture inside between the butt and the legs, you can see his balls. So I know it sounds weird to say that, but this is how amazing and how like kind of sexual the sculpture is, that he carved in there. He could have connected the thighs and the butt and made it a mystery, but he went in to the other side. And you can imagine when somebody was analyzing it, like other artists were looking at it, they would notice that, and they could tell that this guy went further with his sculpture than anyone else. And that was what made this sculpture great, and what made Michelangelo great. Other things that they're not so noticeable in this drawing, but in between these fingers, there's actually like a space. There's like a hole that goes through. It's a really tiny hole that I caught in one of my other sketchbook drawings. So there's so much consideration. So this is a nice drawing. Let's see if we should do a quick little replay. This video is kind of turning long. So yeah. Okay, and this is called the Laocoon. This is a version. I was wondering if it was like the original, but it's not the original. The original is at the Vatican, which I'm going to see in a few days. So this is a really good copy by an Italian artist. What's his name? His name is Bandinelli, and it's at the Uffizi galleries. And I just copied like this one version, like one angle of it because there was so much traffic in front of it that I could just kind of sit on the side, and this was the most appealing angle. And let's see, should I do a little replay? I mean, my approaches are typical. Like, I try to envision the composition, like where everything will fit, and then I start with any point. I could start with the nose. But I guess I typically start in the center. Let's see, with my own curiosity. Where did I start with this one? Yeah, I started somewhere right in the center. So so I start in the center typically. Let's see with the painting. So I love this one, Fiorentino. This I've seen in books so many, well, not too many times, but I saw it. I admired it a lot as a kid. And to see it in person, it just kind of like I came up on it, and it just amazed me. So I was compelled to copy it. So this one, I didn't start in the center because it's a little bit different. It's in terms of sizing. First of all, I tried to get the proportions of the canvas. I just kind of guessed, and I actually opened up a few canvases, and some were too wide, some were too tall. So I chose one that kind of just looked correct. And then I had to put the background in and check the spaces, like from the corners and the top here and all around, and from the bottom to the elbow, and all that space I had to make sure, and from the edge here to the elbow. And so I made all those spaces, all those calculations to get the proportions right. And then I tried my best to match the colors, and I feel like I got really, really close with this. And it was really, really fun, and I love this, and I feel like I wonder if I could sell this on t-shirts or something, like as my copy, because I think it's such a pretty picture. So I love this. It's so nice. So yeah, so this is like my big mini masterpiece recently, and this is currently my phone wallpaper. I love it so much. And yeah, so this is the tour, the little B-reel, B-side tour of my sketchbook, my digital iPad sketchbook. This is what I've been up to for the last 2 months. So yeah, this will be up on my website in the Keeping Sketchbooks course at masterpieceartschool.com, and yeah, I'll try to post more videos as I get inspired and do more stuff. Okay, see ya.